Hi, good evening. This is Barb Bacon. I'm a community advocate here in South Charlotte. Generally, I drive people around and to doctor's appointments, and I'm getting ready to have my sign-up list for taking people to vote. Buttons, once again, are, I believe in health care for all. I've got some people that don't believe in Medicare for all. Gun violence, let's get some control of guns. And Black Lives Matter in honor of our friend Joel that passed away last year. So that's it, guys.
Hello, this is Jenny-Jaymes Gunn. I am a community advocate here in Charlotte, North Carolina for LGBT women's rights with the National Organization for Women, gun sense laws with Moms to Men Action, and anything that extends equity to all. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Christian Cano. You're the co-host. My buttons are Moms to Men Action, gun sense legislation, healthcare for all, Medicare for all, and also in my heart, Black Lives Matter on behalf of Joe Oldham, who's a guest of ours who passed away last year. That's it.
Good morning, everybody. It is the last Wednesday of February, if you're seeing this. And it is Coffee Pan Dulce time, and month's going by fast.
Yes.
Wow.
And so the next show that you see will be a March show, and it'll be March 1st, actually. And so the last Wednesdays in the month, the way it fell, since the first Wednesday of the month was on the 1st.
Yeah.
We've had this will be the 4th Wednesday. And it's the short month. It's the 28, 28 days in February, like except for leap years. And so these months, February always goes by really fast because of that. And you just run out of Wednesdays. And so we'll have a whole 6 days of February still after today. But good morning, everybody, and good to see you.
Good morning. Hey, as Jenny said, today is, or the day you're going to see this is February 22nd, which means it's the last Wednesday of February, 2 months down. Wow.
Hey, my social security comes. And Republicans better not mess with it after what they said at the
Hey! After this show, Jenny's show, she's talking about that actually. So that's a good reason to watch her show. As Jenny said, welcome everyone to. I'm going to do the voice. Welcome everyone to Coffee Pan Dulce. Coffee Pan Dulce. All right.
There you go.
All right, there we go. That'll wake people up. Welcome everyone who's joining us on Facebook Live. Also those who join us on YouTube, and the thousands who listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platform. You've seen the introduction. We're excited to have everyone. Good to see you, Barb. I see you got a new phone going on, or what's you got new technology?
I'm trying. They're going to port my number over.
Oh wow!
That's always the scary part, because the last time it didn't work, and I had to get a new phone number, and I realized that I have like 1,000 accounts to update. Then I told them I would kill them if they did that to me. So I said I'm willing to risk going to jail. Don't screw.
Well, it'll be fun. All right. So before we do Barb's current events, let's go ahead and salute to our neighbors. I want to try to stay on track here. Whatever you're drinking there, I'm drinking coffee this morning, which is why I'm all uppity. And so we're going to go ahead and pause just a second to do Barb's current events.
This is Barb's current events.
All right. Here are the 3 Barb's current events for this week. Super Bowl happened a week ago after you're watching this, 2 Sundays ago. And during the Star Spangled Banner, there was a singer. I don't know his name, but he played the guitar. He had this long beard.
Great.
He did a great job. If you look at him, you think he's kind of like a MAGA, kind of guy, or whatever. He did an excellent job. Well, before he came on, there was a lady who sang the Black National Anthem. It's not called the Black National Anthem, but it's considered the Black National Anthem. And she did an excellent job of singing that song. And MTG said, she had something to say about the guy who did the national anthem was really good, whatever, but the other lady was woke and all this kind of stuff, not knowing that the guy who actually did that was a huge progressive, woke, Black Lives Matter guy. And so she didn't even know who he was, and she was trying to own the libs. And then people called her out on it and said, obviously, you don't even know who you're talking about because this guy actually is a Black Lives Matter supporter. Anyway, that's the funny thing. Second thing is, in the state of North Carolina, when you see this, you'll probably have heard this by now, the state party chairperson, she lost her re-election to a 25-year-old county chairperson who is now the new state Democratic chairperson of North Carolina. And the first vice chairperson is now a 36-year-old attorney who beat a 76-year-old state senator. So the state of North Carolina is a changing. So that's the second one. The third one is, I thought this was, I thought this was a really cute story. In Georgia, there was a superintendent. It's a small school district, a superintendent, and some parent or some hater outed her. She was a LGBTQ member, and they outed her and caused a big uproar, trying to, what happens is she decided, because she didn't want the attention put on her, she decided to resign. Well, the school board voted to keep her. They said, no, she's doing a good job. She's all about the children. We're going to keep her. And they squashed down that opposition, the religious opposition, and said, there's no reason to fire her. I thought that was a really, and this is in Georgia. I was like, wow, that's wonderful. Yeah, exactly. Like, what is that thing? The arc of justice.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we're going to let you comment on those in 30 seconds or less. And as usual, we'll get Jenny to start. Go ahead, Jen.
Well, kudos to that school district and having the wisdom that whether it's a woman or a minority of some type or anything, that if they're doing the job and are qualified to do the job, unlike most Republicans, that literally you do the right thing and you keep the person because she's not doing anything wrong. And who cares if a small minority of hateful, stupid ignoramuses, bigots want to lose their mind and have some kind of fake outrage. It's actually none of their business what her sexuality is or gender identity. Like that it has nothing to do with anything. It's if you hire somebody to do a job and they can do the job and they've been doing the job, what does it matter? She may be a stamp collector too. She may be a coin collector. Like as long as it's nothing that's harming anybody, what does it matter to you? What's your investment into a superintendent's sexuality? That's very, very bizarre. Congratulations to the two new elected party chairs. I think it's great. I hope they infuse new ideas. We have a lot of really good young Democratic leadership. You're seeing it here locally with the LGBT Dems. You're seeing it on the full party level, and I think one of the nice things is relying on those younger generations, appealing to these younger generations, because for one really important fact, 8 million new voters will be added between now and the time that the election in 2024 happens. It's 8 million new baby Z young voters are going to come on the voter rolls. Our party leadership if we want to stay ahead of the curve, has to reflect that generational change. That 8 million new voters are coming on the rolls. And that's the margin of victory that Biden won by in 2020. And so, and the majority of those that are coming up are registering Democrat. They're realizing we are the defendant of real human rights and real
70% are progressive. Yeah.
Yeah. And you saw it in Kansas, you saw it in Michigan, you saw it in Pennsylvania with their special election when they added 3 new House members that were all Democrat this last month. You've seen this youth revolution that is only going to get more significant. The second dynamic that's going on is the Republican Party is appealing to a very small base of fragile white people.
Yeah.
Self-owned themselves and wiped out a lot of older Republicans during COVID and say, hey, don't wear that mask. You don't want to be
never made any sense. No.
We don't want you to take the vaccine. And the majority of Republicans are 50 and up. Mm-hmm. They're white and not so smart. And when you sit there and try to own
I like the way you politely said not so smart.
Not so smart. Like, I mean, it's like the meme that I always post is, I'm not saying you're stupid, but you have a long history of making really stupid decisions, more or less, and not getting vaccinated against a deadly virus and not wearing a mask when you need to is you're not going to own me. I don't care if you catch COVID. I've got no investment in you. I could care less. In fact, it makes me chuckle a little bit. I just feel, hey, you're proving science and Darwin right again. So the herd immunity through this thin the herd, and not my problem. And so you see this dynamic of probably losing almost 2 million Republicans when the final counts and the uncounted get counted. It's going to be about 2 million Republicans over these last 3 years. And then you see 8 million new voters that 70% of them are going to be Dems. That's a huge shift. That's a huge shift.
How many
make a huge difference?
How many Republicans shifted to independent too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which they really need to worry about those.
And that intermarry, but they're independents, but very left leaning, very progressively.
Exactly.
Especially the younger voters. And then the MTG thing, we could quote her every day as long as she's in office. And obviously, Republicans like to talk about stuff when they're not even in office. Carrie Lake, Carrie Lake just filed a lawsuit defending the Philadelphia Eagles, saying they won the Super Bowl. That the NFL cheated and just assuming the NFL to make sure the Philadelphia Eagles were the Super Bowl champion.
That's a joke, but that's funny.
It's flipping funny. It's going around Twitter
I like
because you can't realize that some people just lose. Sometimes you lose.
Yeah.
But anyway, she's got the mentality of a 3-year-old. But yeah,
that's funny.
That's given them a lot of credit, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
be nice.
Yeah. Okay, Barb, you want to comment on any of those 3?
I'm not giving MTG any more of my time. I liked all the instant replays of her with her mouth open during Biden's address. It just keeps showing that she is like you said, let's get out the popcorn and sit back and watch them be stupid. It's just, I can't refuse to acknowledge it anymore. But I'm really glad to see this happening in North Carolina. Some of the older Democrats that I met at Ed's Friday morning coffee, oh my God, antiques. And really, from what I understand, powerful people. I think we need the younger people in, and we sure saw it in the last election. They saved it. So that's the way we need to go. And I don't care. I'm not a Democrat, but I'm happy to see it. And I'm hoping that
we get things straightened out. I don't know when Biden's going to announce what he's going to do, but I thought it was interesting that he said Kamala Harris is a work in process. That's interesting. So that, and I didn't hear anything about the school board person. So I'm really glad to see that. Who do those people think they are invading her private life? Something should happen to those kind of people, and I keep waiting for them to get theirs. You know what I mean?
They will. Yeah.
I know. We just have to sit back and wait. And
when I say
Georgia grand jury information is coming out.
Yes. So by the time you see this,
then we'll know.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I forgot all about that, Barb.
I did a little dance when I heard that. Here we go, a snowball starting to roll down the hill.
That's right.
Trump.
So I completely agree with y'all. You know, I really thought the Georgia story was just really. It was like, wow, finally we're hearing something. I mean, there's a lot of good things. But sometimes we're bombarded, especially those of us who are engaged in politics and what's going on. We often hear the sound bites of the MTGs, the DeSantis and stuff like that. And we don't often hear these good things. There are so many good things. And this is a small county. And one of the mothers basically said, we are not going to let these people destroy this woman's professional career. We stand by her. And they were speaking at the school board in support of her, and the students were speaking in support of her. And so she apparently, according to the story, she's not a very she's a very low profile person. She's not like and the fact that they thought they were going to shame her and so forth, and the school board basically said, nope, we don't accept your resignation. We want you to keep going. That was a really good story. MTG thing, she's crazy. I agree with you, Barb. She's just crazy. But isn't it interesting that she tried to act normal and she lasted maybe like 3 weeks?
Really?
It didn't even last that long. Like
remember she was trying to change her image. Remember, y'all?
Literally lasted like a day.
Because she's on all these special committees now that McCarthy put up and put her on.
Well, now I think, and I read an article somewhere, I don't know where it was, where they said that she really was like, Boebert is trying to make an effort to be normal because she knows she's probably going to lose this next election, her next one in 2024. And I'm sure her husband sat down and said, honey, you got to stop being crazy. Just hang on a little bit. Just don't be crazy. Well, MTG, I think she thought she was going to be that, but she couldn't help it. She was like, I can't do it. So, anyway, it was crazy.
And that's part of their problem is when you run on a cocktail of conspiracy theories and narcissism, you told everybody who you are, because this is who they are. This isn't an act. Like, they're not acting crazy. They are mentally ill. These are people like Matt Gaetz, that's an alleged pedophile. The MTG's a hypocritical fornicator herself that hates the LGBT community. Boebert's a wacko gun nut that's married to a sex criminal and a twice convicted sex criminal. These people are who they are, and this is who they are. This is a lifetime of behaviors that when MTG announced that, I'm going to stop, I don't believe in conspiracy theories anymore. And literally the next day goes on Fox News and spouts off another conspiracy theory.
Exactly. She couldn't help herself. She's like Trump.
But I think it's more than that. It's more than that. It's when you've lived a life as a so-called adult, and I'm using adult, a very loose term when I'm talking about Republicans.
When you're talking about her, yes.
Chronologically and legally, they're adults. Competent and sane, not so much. But when you live this for this long, it's hard to change behaviors, and most of all, their beliefs. When you talk about Boebert, that goes to a very right-wing, radical evangelical church where she gets up there and like she's a preacher, and this is who they are. This is who they identify to. It'd be, it would, you know, when you do this for a long time, it's hard to change your image. Your image is a reflection of who you are. That you've built this reputation. You've run on these platforms of gun-toting, and hold my beer and watch this. How do you change that when your base loves that red meat? They love that.
Well, and that's who you are. And that's what I hope. That's what I hope. Let's say, just for an example, here in North Carolina, that's what I hope, that this new state chairperson and the new blood of the party, which a lot of states need new blood. Yeah, I hope that this new blood they realize that you can't play nice with these fools. You know, so give you an example, here in my old congressperson, I think y'all's old congressperson, Dan Bishop, who was part of that trash squad, part of the MTG, Matt Gaetz, he's a big Trumper. Yeah. He has also quieted down because he knows that Trump is toxic. So he's trying to stay away from Trump because he doesn't want the DeSantis people coming after him. But he's Bathroom Dan. He's crazy, and he's trying to calm him down. So I do hope that the party here in North Carolina, they don't let these voters forget who these crazy people are. And I think, like, you know, some of the older, more Gen Xer and Boomer Democrats, no, we just don't, you know, we can't run elections that way. And then we lose all these statewide races. Listen, you gotta, when you're running against crazy people, you gotta highlight how crazy they are. And, you know, so I'm hoping that will change.
But with these people, with this generation of Republicans, especially in this modern camera, phone, and we talk about this on the next show on Two Queers and a Truck. But back in the day, in the Reagan Bush era, especially in the 80s and 90s, early 90s, they didn't have these camera phones. They didn't have the ability to self-report. And now
they can say, I didn't say it. Now they got cameras
the Google machine, social media. And so when they go to these CPAC meetings and internal fundraisers that they always run, and they say to the real base, the people that actually fund their campaigns, hold my beer and watch this. That gets recorded because they're going, these people go rush home and go, I was with Mike Lee, and he said he's going to pull Social Security up by its roots. And I'm all for it because I'm going to make money off that. And as they privatize Social Security, and they're going to attempt this. This is going to, they're going to try. It's not going to happen. But you actually get to hear the crazy out loud because half the people that went to that event recorded it and recorded that part of his speech. And they play it. The internet's forever. Once you put that up, it's never going to come back down. And so 100 or 200 attendees recorded this and they posted up on their different TikToks and Twitters and Facebooks and all this. So he can't claw this back. He can't say it didn't happen. And this is the thing, when they let these cats out of the bag before they do their attack mode, they're self-owning themselves. Because Rick Scott has said multiple times that he wants to sunset Medicare and Social Security. He wants to put it up on a 5-year cycle to where every 5 years they review it. So people on Social Security, when that 5th year is almost up, have to grip, realizing that may or may not have a paycheck. And like before Social Security was created, we had tons of vulnerable people that should be able to retire in peace living on the streets. People don't realize, because most of us were not alive before Social Security was created, realizing that many of those vulnerable populations, the disabled, the medically retired, and the age retired people that want to live out their lives, we created Social Security to give them some sort of dignity and grace in their lives.
Hey, that's
and to privatize that, to even suggest to take away that promise.
An entitlement. They keep calling it an entitlement, and damn, we've been paying into this thing for our whole life, working lives.
I've been paying into the system for 3 decades.
Hey, y'all, we need to take our first break here.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back and we can talk a little bit about Social Security because I think this is really important.
Yep.
So we're going to be right back, y'all, on Coffee and Pan Dulce right after this.
Hey, y'all, the holidays are coming up, and what better way to celebrate locally but with Manolo's Bakery's fine goods and services. They have amazing chocolate cakes is what they're known for. Tres Leches cakes, tamales. Get your tamales orders in early, especially if you're going to order for Thanksgiving because they sell out fast. But they have an amazing bakery and restaurant there on the east side of Charlotte, and you're missing out. Plus, you should support your Black and brown businesses and shop local and shop small to really keep the economy going. Thanks for watching and shop with Manolo's this year.
Welcome back. Jenny will be talking about Social Security on her show as well that comes on after this one. But I agree with you. This is an issue that impacts not just seniors now, but it impacts anyone who's working, who's paying into the system. So I agree, Jen.
This is a serious issue. Now, this is what Republicans are really trying to do. They could care. Most of them are gay. Most of them are bisexual. They could care less about my community. They're just weaponizing that social issue to distract from something as immoral. This is a morality and ethics issue. This is the most unpatriotic, un-American thing you could ever do, is scare vulnerable populations. Because if you're on Social Security, and especially if it's a bulk of what you live on, like my ex-wife is medically retired. And she's been medically retired and is Social Security dependent for over a decade. And it's designed for two populations, people above a certain age and people that are medically disabled in some way. And to scare those vulnerable populations like that, honestly, I don't even know if I could say it on the air, but I would put them in stockades and publicly horsewhip them myself. If I could, if I had that kind of power, or I would drop them in the ocean. Because any party, I don't care, Democrat, Republican, Independent, Socialist Party, I don't give a shit who that is. Let me tell you, I would beat 7 shades of shit out of them for scaring people. And there is no reason, and Biden had it right in the State of the Union. Basically, the buck stops here. I will never allow that. I will veto that every time. And because he's completely right. This is the new, there's 2 new Republican scams on privatizing. State by state, they're trying to privatize schools. Nationally, they're trying to privatize Social Security. And these are $1 trillion scams that they can't wait to get their little booger fingers on this. This makes Christian laugh when I say booger fingers. They're dying to get in on that money.
To do what with it? Piss it away like Baby Bush did?
Well,
No way.
You got to figure every business model you need to really operate a business, you need to make about a 30 to 40% profit. So let's just say 30%. That's 30 cents on a dollar. So 30 cents on the dollar of Social Security is going to go to profit to some billionaire's bank account for privatization. And when you're talking about trillions of dollars in that fund, that is insane.
So this is
Twitter bus type profit. It's very
but this is what's but Barbara had mentioned this a couple of weeks or even a couple months ago, how this really, if you think about what they're saying, we know demographically the MAGA part of the Republican Party, the Trumps, that part is a little bit older, a little bit less educated, more rural. They're not, and they hate the elite, the elite. That's what they call it. They say the elitist. Democrats are the elitists, the educated. They're the smart people. We don't like them. We don't like the smart people. If this were to occur, this would hurt them the most because they're the most who rely only on Social Security. And so this would hurt them the most. So that's the reason why every time Biden or we or anybody talks about it, they say, no, we're not talking. They're so afraid because they know that this scam they're trying to promote impacts their own voters the most. And they're going to, and that's why they're afraid to even admit that they've said this. And
it's complete intentionality. They nationally try to deregulate all power grids in every state. They got up to about 20 states that went, off the national grid and deregulated, and every one of them jumped back onto regulated power. Because when you do a public utility like that and you're trying to make an inordinate amount of profits, the inordinate amount of profits has to come from higher prices.
That's right.
Because you buy energy at a certain level as a utility, as an incumbent, and you have to sell it at a certain deal to justify privatizing it and staying in business. That's just the way private enterprise works for people who slept through economics classes in high school and college. And so I'm doing basic 101 business class. Mm-hmm. So if you buy the energy for 10 cents a kilowatt, you have to sell it for 15 or 18 or 20 cents a kilowatt to turn a profit. And Texas pays the highest in the nation and has for 20 years for energy, especially commercial energy.
Yeah.
And these dumb ass Texans keep voting for higher utility bills. Every time you put a Republican governor in office, you're continuing this scam.
And, well, I mean, just here in the state of North Carolina, our new, I don't know if he's new, I think he won this last election, is a Republican insurance, the person who's in charge of our insurances. They're proposing a 30% increase in insurance rates in North Carolina. So you're right. Yeah. So we'll see how that works. But Jenny, you hit the nail right on the head. This is what's so interesting. I think also to me, what's so interesting is that all of these individuals that talk about socialism and we need to privatize this, there is not one billionaire in America, an American billionaire, it'd be hard to find one, that did not make their money off somehow being subsidized by the federal government. Ross Perot, all of his money came from federal accounts to do with his EDS system. Elon Musk, almost all of his money comes from SpaceX, Tesla, from being subsidized by the taxpayers. So, I mean, there are very few people who allegedly have made their money who did not make it somehow through the federal government. So if anyone is really a socialist, they are like the kings of socialism.
Well, and that's the thing. The companies that hired on private contractors during the 9/11 wars were paying these soldiers a fortune, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 through the Blackwater operation, and it was a huge cash grab. You get the moment Republicans want to do something, and I'm talking about the real policies, the policies they don't want to talk about publicly. They don't want the general population, especially their own voters, to know about until it's out, until it's become policy or close to becoming policy. Like, surprise, we're privatizing Social Security. But what they used to do in back rooms and in private meetings, they can't do anymore. There's no such thing as a private meeting anymore.
You can't trust anybody anymore, thank God.
If you got donors, the donors don't care. They love it. Their Republican donors are just stupid enough to record this and put this out on the internet because they don't realize that this needs to be a sandbag surprise to the American people. It's kind of like a Jack in a Box when you're turning it pops out a little earlier and you expect it to go, when you're 2 or 3 years old. This is kind of like the base voter of the Republican Party has the mentality of maybe a 2.5 to 3 year old. And I'm talking about the voters, not the donors, not the strategy people, I'm talking about the rank and file hillbilly that thinks that MTG is funny and a patriot. That type of idiot, that's the base of the Republican Party, which is the majority of the Republican voter. All they hear, oh, that's a good idea, and we need to stick it to big government. So you can hand over big government to big business that's going to make a profit off your Social Security. Guess who's going to get less benefits? They're going to pick profits over benefits every single time.
Well, here's let's go ahead and take our second break, and then we will get into the topic. So, hey, we do want to wish everyone a Black History Month once again. We're into the last week of Black History Month, and we'll be right back on Coffee Pan Dulce right after this. Hey, everyone, thank you so much for watching our Coffee Pan Dulce show every week. Don't forget, you can watch us visually on our video podcast platforms on Facebook and YouTube, but you can also listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all of the other ones that your favorite, whatever your favorite is. Once again, thank you for watching us on Coffee Pan Dulce. We'll dance out. We should have done the show on Social Security. It would be
We already did.
It's very, very important. Yeah, you're right. So let's go ahead and get into our topic. If we don't get too deep into it, we can go back to Social Security. That's what's great about talking whatever we want to talk about. Who are America's groomers? For the last 2 years, the MAGA wing, or the Christian nationalists, that is their thing they've been trying to push, from the Proud Boys, and it's kind of gone back and forth. Groomers, pedophiles, doing these terms. And we know that the MAGAs and the Republican Party, they are the party of projection. Anytime they say something, just look at them, because as Jenny usually says, they're usually saying something so they can say, look over here, don't look at me. Look over here, look over here.
Well, usually about the time that a local Republican talks about groomers is about the time that Pastor Pete has gotten busted, molesting little boys. So
since this started, which it kind of started almost immediately after the 2020 election. That's when it really started.
This is going back to the early days of QAnon. QAnon's
yes. During Clinton. That's right.
Is the Hillary Clinton was eating
babies
story. Running a title pedophile ring with a cabal in the basement of a Washington D.C. pizza parlor. And some idiot from North Carolina in 2017 actually went up there with an AR-15, came to the pizza place, and said, "Where's your basement?" And I'm basically here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. Come to find out, the pizza place doesn't have a basement.
Since this is, so they have that what is it, the libs of TikTok, before is exposed who this person was, and they just love, apparently anytime there's any video this person shows it, and they all go against, and to this day I swear that they've done it to this show, because there's certain shows where we get tons of responses like within an hour. So it's like, they all, okay, y'all, we're going to, talk about this one, which I'm happy they have. But I have looked every week since this has been talking about for a drag queen pedophile. Every week I've been, scanning drag queen pedophile. Have not found one every week. And I'm not exaggerating, y'all. 2 or 3 times I will see a pastor, a coach, an elected official, someone that's Republican or more right-wing, more religious, being arrested or something has to do with grooming and pedophile. And just because out of nature, we don't normally publish that, because that's just not something, they don't have any problem, doing things like that. So it's interesting. So I wanted us to really take a look at who are the real America groomers. Are they the drag queens? Or are they what the FBI says? We looked up before the show, and Jenny, we were getting ready for her show, and I was looking up, what is a profile of a pedophile? The truth is, a pedophile looks like everybody else with no distinguishing visible characteristics. Drag queens don't look like everybody else, so let's just get that. That's not the profile already, just that first sentence. They're best defined by their behaviors, attitudes, meaning that certain traits may be indicators that someone is a pedophile. Criminal evidence suggests that a pedophile profile usually is predominantly a white male, generally over 30, often single, but often married with children.
Yep.
That is the typical profile of the FBI data of a pedophile. Is not a drag queen. So if they were indeed concerned about groomers and pedophiles, wouldn't they go after the ones who are being arrested rather than the ones that we think might be? So let's start with you, Jen. What do you think about that? I know, we're going to have a lot of people watching this. So, all right.
I talk about it on the Two Queers show a lot, and this is ultimately the classic projection in every way, shape, and form that Donald Trump was never a champion for ending sex trafficking, considering he's been involved with sex trafficking and has described himself as a self-admitted rapist himself. So we're not talking about somebody that's a champion for kids or women in general.
Plus, he was friends with Epstein.
Yeah, his priorities were more like Epstein and the former Playboy model, and he traffics a lot more towards that, or kissing his daughter right on the mouth on stage, things like that. So we're not talking about some kind of social justice warrior. And the Republican Party doesn't have that kind of a wing out there. They have a lot of wing nuts, but they don't really have a social justice version of the Republicans. And so I've got several friends on Twitter that every day post about another Republican pastor, coach, whatever, that's pedophile.
Good.
And it's just like a gap. That's where I'm getting these from. So when you see these on my Instagram and Facebook storyline, this is what I'm getting from these specific posters. And they're three women. They're hilarious. And they've made it part of their social media to post about these pedophiles every day. And it's one of them, and her screen name is Bex, Beks. She's probably posted and reposted close to 1,000 of these guys. Almost all of them are men. All of them fit the description of exactly what I'm doing. Typically, the majority of them come from 3 or 4 different types of jobs. Usually law enforcement, pastors and priests, which is not a shock. And people that have access and have an authority type figure job. A lot of teachers, a lot of principals, football coaches, just like the Union County pervert groomer down there.
Exactly.
The high school football coach. But it's people that actually have consistent access to the vulnerable, which in these cases, the majority of the time is usually children, like the special needs teacher that I reported on last week that was doing visual tests. So part of the visual test is blindfolding these special needs kids. And then that's where he molested them, is after he blindfolded them. And and the school district didn't tell the parents, victims. Of the victims, and the school district tried to keep it hush hush. Obviously, in this world, it does not work that way. But the truth is, it's people that are in authority. Unlike drag queens, aren't an authority of anything. And on top of it, they're entertainers. This is why you don't see the majority of the people that you don't see as groomers is, rock bands and entertainers in general, including drag queens. Drag queens, if they have access to children, it's only because the children are in the audience. If they're doing like an all ages show or a story time, but it's a very limited content. There isn't time to groom. The whole part of grooming the process is building a bond between the victim and the predator, which is going to take time. This is not going to be an instantaneous thing. This is like when you hear about step parents or parents that molest their own kids over time. It's like, okay, well, we'll play naked basketball first. little, not innocent things, but little things that they don't necessarily touch them the first time, but they build this confidence. They try to normalize this. We'll have some special sleepovers, this sort of thing. But it's not a, you went to a drag show, all of a sudden, you know, a drag queen convinced you to, you know, be a victim. It's impossible to be a groomer in that short period of time, you know, and you just don't hear of drag queens dragging kids to the bathroom and assaulting them. It just doesn't happen. It's like the trans bathroom bill hysteria was the idea, premise they were trying to float out there is I'm going to go around attacking cisgendered women in bathrooms if I go in there to pee or poop. Now, that's more of a midnight rope-a-hoe, drunken redneck mentality of assaulting.
Yeah, exactly.
And that happens a lot. You just don't hear of cases of trans women doing this. In fact, the FBI searched the records on this, searched law enforcement records, and they couldn't even find one case of this happening where a transgender woman assaulted a cisgendered woman in any bathroom in North America. And
so do you think, so Jenny, here's my question to you, and also to Barbara as well. Do you think in a way, because I've been wondering, I mean, how do you, you know, because this groomer pedophile kind of rhetoric is one of those, it's a very hard thing to defend. The fact that we even have to defend this is almost ridiculous, but also it automatically puts whoever is in that category, as a gay male myself, gay people are pedophiles or groomers. It's like, if you don't say anything, then you must be hiding something. If you say something, then, you know, you're just, you're mad because we've called, you know, it's like a darned if you do darned. Do you think the way that we have to fight this is to start posting stuff like what you've said? I mean, to say, hey, listen, I mean, I hate to put this in your face, but I'm just going to tell you, 14 priests were pedophiles. And you know what I mean?
Progressives and Democrats, the way we fight disinformation and false narratives is just post the truth.
Yeah.
Sure.
And how you address it
should happen.
Exactly what Biden said the other night, saying, we got Rick Scott and all these people suggesting to privatize Social Security. Just lay the truth out there. Those wackos,
they said, boom.
Use their exact words. You don't have to lie about them. I don't have to lie about MTG to prove that you're a friggin' wingnut. I don't have to lie about Bogart's. I don't have to lie about Bogart's husband's criminal record. I literally, all I got to do is just lay it out there. And these pedophile pastors that almost always are Christian and conservative and Republican, every time you look at their voting records, 99% of the time they're Republicans.
Yeah.
And, you know, and again, they fit the exact profile. And the FBI's talked about this a lot. Is you just keep posting about it. You just go, I posted my storyline. Hey, not another drag queen, another Republican, another pastor, another Christian, air quotes, good Christian. And you just keep saying that. And that's how you change the narrative is over time. And you don't have to go into deep detail because they can read the article. They can see the mugshots. It's not, they can't dispute it, you know, because they've already been arrested. They've already been busted. There's already an in-depth story about it.
And how is that not the high road? Some people don't have access to social media. Some people, that just isn't what they do. So how is that being scummy or low? It isn't. It's telling the truth. You're putting the facts out there and let people draw their own conclusions. What is the matter with that? I don't understand it.
Well, it's not. And I think Democrats have fallen, some Democrats, not all. And the ones that have been successful are like Adam Frisch in Colorado that didn't win but only lost by 546 votes and is running again. He's already announced his 2024 campaign. Because next time I'm going to win. I'm going to knock enough doors, and I'm going to keep coming after, because Blobbert's not going to change her spots. Like
she's trying to be normal, but it's not going to last. She's going to get triggered.
So Bobbert and normal should never be used in the same sentence.
Exactly.
It isn't. Going back to what I said earlier, she's lived her entire adult life being a wingnut.
Sure.
They got married when she was a minor. She got knocked up, had to quit high school. I don't think she was passing any of her classes anyway. We've all seen we realized that elevator doesn't hit the top floor. Took forever to get her GED, got it right before she got, inaugurated into her office. This person's not a rocket doctor. I mean, she ain't going to be.
Hey, listen.
Yeah. No. And so these type of people, and she's a prime example. Her husband's a groomer.
Yeah.
He's a sex criminal.
Hey, listen. Hey, Jen, let's take our last break and then we'll come back what you're talking about. If you like what you're hearing from Jenny, she does have a show that drops 30 minutes after this every Wednesday at 11:30 Eastern Time. It's called Two Queers in a Truck, and she talks about 6 very important topics every week. And so this next commercial, we'll be talking about that, and we'll be right back on Coffee Pan Dulce.
Up next is Two Queers in a Truck with Jenny and Christian. And hope you guys tune in. We'll see you in about 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you.
Here.
I think I'm going to do a whole show one day just doing the yes, talking like this. But you know what also is very unfair, Jenny, and I have found this just with me personally. I can't speak for everybody else. You're trying so hard to take the high road, that sometimes you allow people to talk shit about you. And you don't want to lower yourself down. And you remember our former guest, rest his soul, Joel. He said that when Michelle Obama said when they go low, you go high, or something like that. And he said, but it doesn't mean you don't kick them under the table. And I thought, do you remember when he said that?
Yeah, I do.
Yes,
but I'm going to completely disagree with you there, Christian.
Okay.
Telling the truth is not going low.
Yeah.
Telling the truth.
That's what I
describe it.
Why is that going low? It's the truth.
If I post Lauren Roberts' rap sheet and criminal history up on the internet, am I going low or I'm telling the truth? I'm painting them. If I show a video of Laura Barbert saying, we're a Christian nation and us Christians need to unite, take over the country and install an authoritarian president, that's her saying that. That's her self-owning. That's not me. If I repost that, or I repost MTG's Jewish space laser rhetoric, or any of the other crazy conspiracy theories, or that clip of her literally chasing the Parkland shooter survivor on Capitol Hill, literally chasing this guy down and harassing him. A supposedly grown woman and business owner chasing down a very young man that just had a major trauma just a few years ago, was coming to testify just to tell his story on Capitol Hill. You get to see who they are. And if they're especially if they're a public official, elected official, the general public needs to see who they are, not who they're trying to shape themselves to be. And that's you're not going low. And that's why I caution us to paint it that way. I don't want to kick them on the table. I want to slap them right above the table. I want to slap them with their own work. Jenny, rhetoric is different.
Yeah, Jenny, that's what I was going to say. What I was going to say is that I'm guilty of this, that I had always thought that way, but I have come to the conclusion over the last year, it's time to stop trying to appease hurting someone's feelings from them hearing the truth. So you know what I mean? And so I have to, people who normally would remain kind of quiet have to start saying, listen, this baloney that's coming out about groomers and pedophiles, we've got to call this stuff out so that way we don't let people start believing it. So we do have to start posting, and we have to stop worrying about upsetting Aunt so-and-so because, you know, oh my God, I can't believe it. You know what? You should be just as outraged about those people saying things about me.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's kind of what I was trying to say, Jenny, is that people need to start saying things.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what was so effective about the George Floyd Black Lives Matter movement in 2020 is the fact that we kept showing that 9 minutes over and over and over again, and hearing him pleading for his life and all that. As painful as that video is, it was more painful to George Floyd.
Yeah.
We can't let that go.
Yeah.
And every time they say, well, blah, 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 you know, BLM is Chinese finance and all that, fine. Let's roll the George Floyd script another time.
And now we've got Tyree that they beat the living hell out of and killed him.
100%. You know, whether it's beatings, whether it was the racist killing there in Atlanta where those three white guys that lived in that one neighborhood, I can't remember the young man's name that they just murdered in cold blood in the street.
Yes.
But all those court cases, all these, whether it's the police or just white people in general, that are killing people of color, especially young men, we have to keep showing those clips. We have to keep saying, this is for Tyree, this is for George, this is for whoever, unfortunately, the next victims are going to be. We got to keep showing those clips. We can't ever paint this as just crazy liberals wanting to defund the police.
Exactly.
We have to say, here's why we're saying we need to change our priorities, which is why I hate the defund police name. It's like, we need to reorganize the police. That if they don't have the training, let's get them the training. If they don't have good mental health, let's get them the help they need.
Sure.
Let's tackle these hard subjects because our country is so much looked the other way. This includes groomers, the real groomers, which are these people in authority positions that consistently this is happening. We just saw the Southern Baptist Convention admit and self-investigate their own sex crimes inside their church over the last 40 years and self-publish it. They published it. They told on themselves. The Pope himself several years ago said the Vatican estimates 7% of their priests are pedophiles and sex offenders. And I'm telling you, whatever number they admit to means it's double or triple.
At least,
And so,
but Jenny, that's what the hypocrisy is to me, and that's kind of what why we want to do this show. We're all concerned about children because we were all children, so we're all concerned about children. But if we truly are concerned about groomers and pedophiles, let's go where they actually are. Let's go to the churches. Let's go to the schools. Let's actually talk. Let's do that. So this fake outrage against drag queens and LGBT community and so forth, we have to talk about, all right, how do we turn that around and say, you know what? Yes, we are concerned about it. I'll join the Proud Boys today when they're boycotting St. Matthew's Church here in Charlotte. The day that they do that, I will be with them. And somehow we've got to,
Therein lies the issue. So there's two problems with this MAGA Republican QAnon movement. One, they create fake narratives.
Yes.
Fake outrage. To distract from their own fuckery and chicanery. And on the other side is the real problem. Sexual assault against women and children, for example, that all these bathroom bills and all these fake outrage bills and false narratives are trying to stop. We don't want women assaulted more. I agree. So let's look how Texas law enforcement, for example, has handled sexual assault against women, for example.
Sure.
400,000 untested rape kits sitting on the shelves.
Oh God,
in
really?
the state of Texas. They've never been tested because it never went past the investigative phase. Law enforcement continually is the most under-investigated crime out there in violent crime is sexual assault. Oh, you didn't really, were you drinking? Hey, did you wear suggestive clothes? Did you wear too short of a skirt, too low cut of a blouse? Did you bring this on as, and most law enforcement ask questions of the victim like that because they don't want to put the blame on typically the men that committed the crime because they see themselves, these men that are primarily the detectives on this thing, they see themselves in this situation and they don't want the man to go to jail. And this is the problem against crimes against women is they're typically the most, same way with protection orders. Oh, we don't want to take his gun. We don't want him not to be able to hunt. Why he's beating the shit out of his wife.
Right. Who's he hunting? Yes.
Yeah. And how many women have died? How many women die every day because of lack of jurisprudence and things like that? And that goes along with this MAGA narrative that we want to put the blame on drag queens and trans women and gay men. They're all the groomers. They got some kind of telepathic Svengali ability to groom kids, even though we rarely come in contact with them, because the majority of gay men don't have kids. Their relationships are with other men. It's going to be really, you talk about an immaculate conception. Yeah. I want to see that one happen.
Yeah.
And typically gay men and queers in general don't spend a lot of time where kids are at. And so here, this is one of the weird things is they've made this crazy ass conspiracy theory they've been working on since the QAnon all started 6-7 years ago, and created these crock of shit arguments. So if you sat down for at least 30 seconds and have an IQ above room temperature, you can realize how stupid the fucking thing is, unless you're an idiot like most Republicans. And so they get these redneck hillbillies all lathered up about homosexuals and drag queens and trans people grooming kids when we don't have any contact with them, but ignoring the real problem. And I'm all for addressing mental health in this country. I'm all addressing for safety for kids, for cis women, and making sure there's safe spaces and places where the women, especially women, adult women, can go and report sex crimes without being put on trial by the law enforcement and making sure that every single DNA rape kit gets tested, no matter what, whether she press charges or not, is that they get tested 100%. There should never be a kit left on a shelf. That should be a crime in itself. And when you start doing that and start holding the actual groomers and sex criminals accountable, there will be no discussion like this. That day will end. Right. Those actions will end all this argument.
All right. Well, on that note, we've run out of time. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We're going to go around the Brady Bunch screen. Tell us we're going to be the weekend of February 22nd, the last couple of days of February. We'll start with you, Jen.
I haven't, and I think we've talked about this off camera. I'm not doing a whole bunch in February. Laying a little low. I have my gaming thing next month, but I'm not really going out. I may have something come up, but I just don't remember it. But kind of chilling, working a lot, and doing the show.
Excellent. Barb?
I have started my spring cleaning, and I mean cleaning. So I kind of put it off last year because I was working with my friends up in Winston-Salem. I can't handle it anymore. So I've already taken my first load to Goodwill and the other little places where you can take books and things. and don't put it all in the same place. Just kind of spread it out. So that's what I'm doing.
I will be, as some of y'all may or may not know, I actually just came back from Florida, a weekend in Florida, and I can tell you I'm so happy to be back in North Carolina. It is, I have family that lives in Florida. Part of my family history is from South Florida. They are definitely the sewer of America. So I know that's going to sound bougie, but it's like, but anyway, it takes all kinds. I'm so fortunate to live in North Carolina. Anyway, we want to thank you so much for joining us. The next time you see this, we will be on our first show in March. Our spring schedule, March, April, and May, will be dropping here this week, or you'll see it before this week. And so we want to thank everyone for joining us at Coffee and Pan Dulce. We will dance out. Thank you. Let's see if it starts here.
I hear it.
Bye, y'all. Good show. See you next week.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching Coffee and Dulce. And be safe out there.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Hey, everyone. We just want to wish everyone a happy Black History Month from Coffee and Pan Dulce. And we will see you in our next show. Bye, y'all.
Thank you. Next up, thanks for watching Coffee and Pan Dulce. Next up is Two Queers in a Truck. Stay tuned.